Thank you to Vandergraaf for sponsoring this Road to Prosperity video. Visit their website to learn about new innovative conveyor drive technology, delivering reliability and longevity for belt conveyors.
Well, it sounds like there's reason to be optimistic for next year and beyond as you're speaking to non-building, Richard. There's still things to watch, whether it's COVID, labor shortages, inflation, variables that can take the different markets that Dodge is keeping tabs on regularly one way or another. What's Dodge keeping an eye on as we're looking at 22 in terms of influencers?
Sure. The risk matrix is certainly intense when we look into next year. And as much as we might have hoped that some of these issues will have calmed down, in a sense, they seem to be getting a little bit worse. In terms of the four things that we're keeping an eye on that could forestall some of this optimism that we see in construction markets in 2022. I think first and foremost, obviously prices, material prices remain very high for construction related inputs. We do though, as we look into the glass is half full approach here, when we look at factory level data, we are starting to see factories get back to the production levels that they were at just prior to the pandemic. So that's a good sign. And as long as we start to see improvements in the port and logistics side, I think that tells us that the first half of the year will be challenging for pricing. But I think as we get into the second half of 2022, the prices will start to cool off. They'll remain high from a level perspective, but that inflation, I think, will tamp down considerably for construction materials. People is another challenge, of course, that we're intensely focused on for 2022 in terms of the extreme shortage of skilled labor in the construction sector. This is more of a systemic issue. It's been going on for many, many years, and we certainly need to, as an industry, address this as we move forward, whether that's technological improvements to make job sites more productive, or whether that's full-fledged efforts to bring younger workers into the construction sector. You mentioned the COVID variants. Omicron is certainly a concern we have as in terms of it's now taken over as the dominant strain of the virus here in the United States. And it's I think it's still a little too early to say exactly the economic impact. We are starting to see short-term disruptions in terms of potentially people traveling less over the holidays, sports leagues shutting down for the Christmas break to stem infections. But I do think, though, that this variant and future variants certainly highlight the risks to certain sectors in the construction market, particularly those sectors that face consumers where congregation is needed. So you're thinking offices, hotels, airport terminals, casinos, convention centers. It highlights the risk there. But then, of course, the last thing that we're really keeping an eye on that we're concerned about is, of course, Washington, D.C. in terms of we're still working on a continuing resolution that's funding the government in the current fiscal year, which began back in October 1. That expires in early February. So, of course, there could be some short-term disruption if the government were to shut down. Of particular import to the construction sector is funds from the Infrastructure and Jobs Act that are subject to annual appropriations. Obviously, those need to happen as part of before February 3rd in order for companies to take advantage of these dollars coming into the market.
Richard, taking in what you're saying, I would characterize your outlook as cautiously optimistic, but you're with me. I mean, is that where you're at, essentially? Hopeful for 22, but some things that could lead us astray potentially?
We are overall, we're very hopeful for 2022. As we look at our leading indicator, the Dodge Momentum Index, which tracks construction projects when they first enter the earliest stages of planning in our database of projects, that's at a 14-year high. Commercial planning, in terms of the dollar value of commercial projects sitting in planning, it has never been this high in the history of the DMI. So there's a lot of opportunity, we think, in the market in 2022. But as you mentioned, we're cautiously optimistic because of these challenges, particularly in the first half of the year.
Richard, as always, it's great to see you. I appreciate you lending your expertise and sharing your insights with Pit and Quarry readers. Happy holidays, and we'll see you again soon.
Thanks very much for the opportunity, and Happy New Year to you.
thank you to Vandergraaf for sponsoring this Road to Prosperity video. Visit their website to learn about new innovative conveyor drive technology, delivering reliability and longevity for belt conveyors.